Yeah, so here we are at part 2. And so like you were saying, it's just not love, and that's the sad thing about it.
Yes.
That people toss the word love around, but people don't realize, just like Phaedra said, and I hate to quote Phaedra Parks, but she said love is a verb, it's not a noun.
Yeah.
And, tricking somebody is not how you show that you love somebody. But like we were saying too, that there's so many people, so many success stories, quote unquote success stories, where that's been done, that women hear it from other women and like, it works.
Right.
And I did it, and we married 20 years now. He didn't want me, or he didn't want this kid, and look at us now.
Look at us now. But you beated him, like, life got in the way.
Yeah.
And made, not that it wouldn't have, I do, life does evolve people, and people do,
Mm-hmm.
They resist certain things, and then they grow up and they come to, realize that. But something like that should happen organically, in terms of they come through the process. You shouldn't have to put them in circumstances.
Yeah.
Force them in circumstances in order for them to kind of get those life lessons. If they're going to get it, they're going to get it on their own terms.
Exactly.
And they may not get it with you. They may get it with somebody else, unfortunately. But you're still going to be better off, because you have to trust that you'll find someone that will want what you want.
Yeah, but you made a really good point about people maybe not recognizing love because they never had it. When you've been in a relationship, a good relationship, and a good relationship can come to an end. I've had good relationships, and we're not together anymore, but it just didn't work for whatever reason. But when we were together, it was a good relationship. But when you really have been in love, and it's been reciprocated, and it's healthy, and it's mature, after that, you can't settle for bullshit, because what the real deal is. But if you've never had that, then I can see how you might misconstrue that for love. And
right.
if all of your examples are of dysfunctional love, your parents, your friends, your big sister, whomever, then I guess, and then you get, people in your ear, no girl, he loves you. He wouldn't have done this if he didn't love you. And he, whatever. And then you ride with it. And the sad thing is the people who just never realize it and spend their whole life in a relationship.
Because girls will think that, if I see it all the time, if a girl is messing with a guy that's married or has a girlfriend, and all of a sudden he starts to spend more time with them, and then they do their investigation and see that, oh, he would have been with her, but he's here with me, or whatever the case may be. Like you said, if there's a holiday that you felt, well, why he ain't with her? Mm-hmm. Why he knocking down my door? Yeah. Then they start to see those signs as, well, he wants to be with me, and he wants to be here, so it must be me. And then they, even though they're in a situation where it's not supposed to be, where he's still going to her, if he's spending most of the quality time with the next girl, they really feel like they're justified, staying and being in it.
They think it.
Also think about the convenience of it. Maybe he's not there because he don't get along with the mother or the father, or, you know what I mean? Maybe Christmas at that house is tumultuous, and Christmas at his own house is boring, or he don't get along with, you know what I mean?
Or he's running from something, like Peter Gunz.
Yeah.
He's running for, he likes the relationship when it's all good, but when she starts nagging him or, holding his feet to the fire, he runs like a little boy, I can't listen to this shit. And then he's going to go someplace else where things are good and positive. And some men spend their whole lives doing that, just jumping from, they'll stay, and as soon as shit starts to get real, they move on to the next. As soon as that shit gets real, they move on to the next. And all they do is hopscotch around.
Right.
And, and eventually, for some men it works for their whole life. But I don't know. The problem is that I think a lot of women, a lot of people, have a competitive streak in them, and they feel like it's me versus her, or him versus me, and they want to win. It's not even about the man, it's about winning.
Right.
I feel like with Tara, I don't know that she really still wants Peter, but I think she feels like she has to win this battle between her and Tara.
She's put in so many years.
Yeah, and I think she's so mad he didn't marry her, and he married Tara, and he married Amina, and it's she still wants that validation that he wants. That's what she needs. Otherwise, she's gonna feel like, damn, I really ain't shit, because I gave this man 2 kids. I treated him like he was my husband all these years, and he went and married this one chick after a year or whatever. Right. So for her, I think it's more about winning than it is about. But then you're what are you winning? What's the prize?
Right.
Before I run a race, before I enter a contest, I want to know, what do I have the potential to win?
Yeah, what is the,
And,
you're right.
it's like I'm going to bet before I sit down at the table. What's the prize? What's the potential here? Because if it's not worth it,
so it's nothing, then why am I putting in my word for it?
Yeah, that's why I don't play slot
hard.
machines. I don't want change. If I'm going to gamble, I'm going to sit down at the table. I'm going to sit down roulette, blackjack, whatever. So that my odds, if I'm going to win something, I want to win big. I'm not wasting my time pulling the lever. But these women just feel like it's about, and it's just this animosity between women, like fuck her. And, we just don't know how to be friendly with each other and how to, treat each other well. It's like the woman is the enemy and we take a load of shit from men. But when it comes to women, oh, she didn't call me on my birthday. Fuck her. They so quick to toss a woman aside, even if that person's a friend. But the standards are so high for other women. But for men, they get away with murder. And I hate women like that. I hate that.
And majority of women are like that.
Yeah. A friendship is a relationship just like a relationship is with your man. Mm-hmm. It needs to be nurtured. There's going to be times you're going to fight. You got to, if you care about it, you got to put work into it. It's not going to be perfect 100% of the time, but women are so quick to just toss it away. But they'll freaking jump through hoops and jump through a hoop of flame of flames to keep their man. But
it comes from a history like that documentary that we watch of how we treat each other and what we see around us. And if you come from an environment where your mother's bickering with her friends and she's bad-mouthing other women and she's looking at the woman that she doesn't know and already sizing her up and like already degrading her in some sort of way based on the way she looks or the way she thinks she carries herself, then that's all you know. So you go out in the world and you feel like it's them against me.
It's learned behavior.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's sad because it's a lot of, women in general, no matter what color you are, but for some reason, I think we as black women, I'm more concerned about that because obviously I'm a black woman, that it's a problem.
Yeah, that documentary was heavy. I couldn't even watch the whole thing in one sitting.
I know.
Because it was very sad. I did, and I saw...
We're talking about we watched the I watched the documentary, and then it happened to be online, thank God, because I was... It's called Light Girls. It was on OWN. It's about the color shade between black women.
It's like colorism.
From there first. Black colorism, and it's focused on women and how we treat each other. And Kelly and I, we were watching it the other night, and it's a very heavy. It makes you angry. It makes you want to cry. It makes you do a lot of things in the course of an hour.
Yes. Yeah, it did. And that's only the Light Girls one. I watched a snippet of Dark Girls.
Me too.
Which was sadder, to be honest.
Okay. I was flicking through the channel and saw the last 45 minutes or 30 minutes of Dark Girl, and then saw when I looked at the because when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I saw it. I saw it in the latter part of how do we heal ourselves, so it wasn't as bad as the beginning, I'm sure. Yeah. And then I looked at the program and I saw that the Light Girl was coming. I'm like, okay, let me watch what's going on there. And that also in itself, that one was things. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch Dark Girl.
Yeah. What stood out to you the most out of the Light Girls documentary?
Going back from the history, because I had read a book many years ago when Oprah had started her first book club. I think it's called. I think I have it now. It's called Cane River, and it's by this. It was about this black woman who is. She seems more. She's like mulatto, is what they would call her in today's day. And they call. She looks a lot whiter than she does black, but you can see a hint of white. And she went back and she was trying to find her family roots, and she ended up discovering that a lot of the reason why she looks the way she looks is because. And this is what the film kind of started with I think her name is Michelle Angela, that this really light lady on the Light Girls documentary. This woman who wrote Cane River was going back into studying her ancestors, and her family wanted to live so badly. They were in New Orleans, and that's probably where a lot of the mulattoes come from, where they were fairly raised to date outside of their culture, date white men, the women that was already raped by slave masters that looked white, because they wanted their children to be able to read and write and go to school, or at least have protection. It was in one of those ages where I think slavery was just abolished, but they still had, black people still had a hard time crossing and going from one state to the next.
Yeah.
So the lighter you were, the easier it was for you to get a job and stuff like that. Yeah. So the way she looks now to this day is based on the thinning. They call it the thinning of the race. And so that stood out to me when there was another woman, I think she was an activist, that talked about her family and how her grandmother did the same thing to her mothers and all. They thinned them out so the way she looked. Yeah. That stood out to me because that was very real, and that's why a lot of black people, we look so different. Another thing that stood out to me was another woman that looked Spanish to me, and she turned out to be black. She was also funny and real.
I remember her with the curly hair, yeah.
Yeah, her name was Adia Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And her comments about when she would have friends, and her friends would joke about, oh, you'd be you'd be in the house. So like she'd meet men and be like, oh, you like jokingly, you'd be
a house nigga, yeah.
And she was like, she said point blank, she would look at them like, what does it matter that I'm in the house or I'm in the field? We are slaves.
We're still slaves.
And it was very poignant because he was like, for a very long time, you made it seem like the house Negro had it better. He goes, no, you're being raped, you're being beat, you're being you're just in the house.
You're just not doing it in the sun.
You can't fight back. You're being ill-treated anyway. You're being sloughed food and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Everything is, it's not, you're not being treated any different. You're just in the house.
And you know what? I think that's kind of like a parallel to corporate America. That's how I thought about it, because it's almost like if you work in corporate America and you are you're a manager, you're a director, if you're an executive, like a C-level employee, it's kind of similar to the house, meaning you're making more money, you have perks, you have an office, you get to, go to business lunches and travel and do shit, and you're exposed to clients and all that shit. And they look for the people who can speak the best and present themselves well, who look good and play the part and play the game. And then in any organization, then you have people work, like, say, in the mailroom or in files or whatever. And those people, and it's not even about complexion. It's just about, a lot of it, is education, credentials, but it's also about those are the people maybe don't come to work looking as polished, they don't speak as well. They're just kind of like, it doesn't matter because nobody really sees them. So it's like you're just doing the, paperwork. You're pushing papers. You're like supporting support workers, but you're not the face of the organization. And when you are, and I've been in organizations where I have been like a director, a high-level employee, so I have FaceTime with, the president and people like that. And then you talk to, but there's a chasm between us and the support staff. And the support staff would look at people, black folks in those positions, be like, they think they're better than us because, they rubbing elbows with, the big bosses and blah, blah, blah. And it's almost like more of that black on black crime. Like, why we're all black, but we're not, we're not. You're creating a separation between us because I don't do what you do and because you can't do what I do, But but again, at the end of the day, we're all slaves to the corporation. Yeah. We all need this paycheck. We all got to work, holidays or do whatever we have to do. We have to do what they say. And it's almost worse at the higher level because you're making so much more money, that much more is expected of you. And not even work content, just, that's that you got to work until 8 o'clock. You have to come in this weekend. You have to play the game. You have to say shit you don't believe in. You have to pretend you like people you don't like. You have to kiss people's asses. You have to do so much more because you're in a high level position and all eyes are on you. Right. But when you're a support staff person, if you're just in the mailroom, you get to leave at 5 o'clock. Nobody's questioning what you look like, what you're wearing, how you're speaking. Like, nobody cares because they don't care about your position is not on Front Street. Right. And it's the same kind of thing. Like, when she said that, that's what I thought about. I'm like, you know what? People may complain, oh, you got an office, you have this, but you don't know the bullshit I have to go through because I'm so close to master, if you will.
Because she said when you get beat, she goes, knowing that I can probably beat her ass. I can't fight her ass. I gotta sit there and get beat.
Yeah, you got to take it, and you have to take it like a champ.
I'm not in the house learning how to read. I'm in the house studying for you know what I mean? Like, I'm not given any kind of special advantage because I'm in the house.
Exactly. And you have less support system, too. Like, when you're in the field or if you're in mailroom, you could all sit around and bitch about the workload, the hours, whatever, and nobody cares. When you're a top level, there's less of you. So there. Then you have those people who are trying to do anything to impress master or impress the boss, just like Samuel Jackson in Django. You have those type of people in corporate America, and so you can't really rub elbows with them because they'll dime you out. So it's like you're almost isolated in a way where it's like, I'm not white, I'm not one of y'all, but I have to pretend like I am. I got to do the same shit, talk about the shit y'all talk about, even though I don't have nothing. Like, I don't want to talk about a ski trip this weekend. I don't ski, never been skiing, but I'm forced to sit here and talk about this for an hour at lunch with you. Yeah. Because I have to assimilate in order to justify my being here. And I think it's similar when you're in the house. It's like you're so much closer to what you can't have. It's like you get to serve these people in this big house with all this nice shit, but at the end of the day, you still got to go back to your quarters. You can see all the nice shit. You see all the beautiful dresses and all the nice shit that's available, but you can't have none of it. And I think that's almost worse sometimes because it's like they're just dangling this shit in your face.
What stood out to you?
I thought that part when they had it was like the men talking about the color, and there was a couple, and I know they're comedians, and comedians say things, and they're looking for laughs.
The funniest person I thought was Chris Spencer.
Well, I don't know who said it, but one of them said that dark women are more supportive. Yeah. They're ready to get their hands dirty. And he said, if I need popcorn...
It was dark-skinned guy,
And I ask a light-skinned girl to go get me popcorn, she'll just she'll be like, whatever. A dark-skinned girl will get up in the middle of the movie and go get me popcorn.
Oh, that was talent.
Yeah.
Talent, yeah.
And I know he was trying to be funny, but I've heard that joke before. Like, dark-skinned girls, they got to put in work. They got to know how to cook. They got to be good in bed. They got to be able to change a tire. Like, they got to have special skills to just, to keep a man, whereas light-skinned girls can just be cute and twirl their hair around their finger and they're fine. But there's truth to that, and that's the sad part.
Yes, they get away with more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's sad, but it's true, and that's why... What I never
realized was two things that I felt was very sad, because I grew up, I'm brown-skinned, so color was never much of an issue unless I was around girls that were really darker than me. Yeah. So I never really got that kind of the color thing. Mm-hmm. I found it sad that women would really beat them up. Yeah. Like there were women lighter than me and that were pretty, but I would never even think or feel like I needed to harm them in any way.
Well,
it just seems so cruel that kids would really want to physically harm someone just by the way they look.
But that goes back to they say hurt people, and you have to. I'm not letting them off the hook, but you have to imagine how hurt and damaged these women are inside, that they feel that they have to take it out physically on another woman.
Right.
And that's why, in the dark skin documentary, there's probably testimonials about the shit that people said to them. And the way they've been ridiculed and made to feel like they're so less than, that the only way they can manifest that is to hurt somebody. And that's really, really sad.
The other thing that I thought was really sad was that I never thought that about light-skinned women was because you think that because you're favored, it's a good thing, but it's also really disheartening to know that you're being favored by the way you look and not anything else. So, when the woman had said something about, even when the guy said, you gotta, if you have a room full of black and gray cars and you see that red Corvette, what you gonna look at? So it's and then it's flipped to another woman saying, I don't want somebody to be with me because of the way I, just solely by the way I look. I want you to like me too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's hard to decipher.
That's the easiest thing. I wish somebody would want to be with me because it's just the way I look. But then that also is an empty feeling to feel, I would think.
If you know that, but it's hard to know if that's what somebody's really doing or not. You know what I'm saying? I don't this one girl, maybe it might have been Claudia, who said, she's like, I wouldn't date a man who said that they only date light-skinned women. Or
dark-skinned women.
Yeah. But I agree with that. That would if I knew that, I don't know how many people admit to that, but I've heard people say things in that nature. And if you said that and then you're dating me, then I would say I can't, that would be the turn off, because now I know it's only because I'm light skinned.
Right.
But if we don't ever have that conversation, I don't know, other than I look at your track record and see who else you've dated, and if they're all light skinned, then I might be like, oh, well, this or this, I'm just his type for whatever reason, but we don't know what it is. Let's stop right here and we're gonna go to the next segment.